There are mornings when the sound of traffic, the buzzing of your phone, the unfinished list of things to do, all of it pours in before you even get a chance to breathe. And somewhere in that flood, a quiet little question emerges. Do I actually have control over any of this? We grow up with the idea that we're supposed to steer life, to win, to master it. But at some point, somewhere between a standstill traffic jam and a 2 a.m. silence broken by a message that never comes, we understand life doesn't follow. There are things you cannot control. The weather, other people, the past, the times they left without notice. And there are also things you always know, but often forget: your reaction, how you look at things, the voice you choose to respond to sadness. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." You can scream in your car, or you can breathe deeply and turn the volume up on an old song you loved once. The traffic won't change, but maybe your pulse will, not because you're giving up, but because you're tuning in to something softer, something steadier. I used to check my phone the moment I woke up. One email, one passive-aggressive message, one update that made me feel behind. And I'd blame the world, the system, the stress. Then, one day, I didn't touch my phone. I just sat, let the morning light spill across the floor, felt my breath rise and fall like it belonged to someone gentle. And I asked myself, do I have to react? Or do I get to choose? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." There's something strangely powerful in letting go of what isn't yours to hold, not as a way to escape, but as a way to finally show up fully for what is. Like someone standing in the middle of a storm, not trying to stop the wind, just quietly finding shelter. And then there are the harder moments, the ones that don't just inconvenience you, but split something open. A betrayal, a loss, a plan unraveling faster than you can gather it. The kind that makes you ask, why me? Why always me? Marcus answers, the obstacle on the path becomes the path. It sounds like a riddle at first, but if you listen with your heart, not your ears, you'll feel it. Every wall is a door. Every loss a lesson in disguise. Every breaking a rebuilding, not yet visible. Rejection, failure, public embarrassment. None of it's fun. But none of it is wasted if you're paying attention. Life doesn't break you. It teaches you how to bend, because life It's not a dashboard. It's a sky. And you are the bird. You don't control the wind, but you choose how to fly. Each day brings you something outside your reach, but each moment hands you back a choice. Hold on or release. Resist or reframe. You don't have to win at life. You just have to be awake for it, like someone who's learned not to flinch at the thunder, but to listen closely for the calm that follows. If this made you pause, maybe you're ready to go deeper into yourself. You're listening to Silent Sage Stories, where thought grows lighter. There's something sacred about the present moment, though we often treat it like a hallway we're rushing through to get somewhere else. We're always on our way to something. A deadline, a destination, a version of ourselves. We've convinced ourselves we're supposed to become. But in that constant striving, we miss what's already here. This breath, this light, this quiet gift of now. The Stoics knew this. They sat with the silence. They watched their thoughts drift in and out like clouds that didn't need chasing. Marcus Aurelius once whispered through ink, "Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment, not because the past isn't important, not because the future doesn't matter, but because life doesn't happen anywhere else." Try this. The next time you eat, don't scroll. Don't plan. Just taste. Feel the warmth of the food. Notice your hands holding the bowl. Listen to the sound it makes when the spoon touches porcelain. It's not about turning every moment into a meditation retreat. It's about coming home to yourself, to the life that's already unfolding right in front of you. Because here's the quiet truth. Most of what you're chasing is already in your hands, but you're too distracted to notice. We live in a culture addicted to more productivity, more hacks, more achievement. And when we finally sit still, the silence feels unbearable. Because in that stillness, we start to hear the parts of ourselves we've been running from. But here's where discipline steps in. Not the kind that punishes, not the militarized version of self-control. I'm talking about sacred discipline, the kind that says, I love myself enough to choose what's right over what's easy. Discipline is lighting a candle instead of the TV. It's choosing water when the world screams for dopamine. It's closing one tab and staying with what matters, even if it's hard, even if it's slow. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And isn't that what discipline really is? Not force, not rigidity, but quiet alignment with your own values. To say, I know what I want, and I'm willing to meet it with consistency, even if that means showing up to the gym when your bones feel lazy. Even if that means writing when the words won't come. Even if that means saying no to the party, to the purchase, to the person who keeps pulling you off your path. Seneca once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom, it turns out, isn't the absence of rules. It's the presence of choice, conscious choice, to not be ruled by craving, to not be a slave to impulse, to remember that every small decision is a brushstroke in the portrait of who you're becoming. But don't mistake this for perfection. This isn't about being flawless. It's about being faithful to your direction, to your quiet, unshakable longing to live a better story. Aristotle called this eudaimonia, not happiness in the fleeting sense, but flourishing. The kind that grows slowly like a tree that learns to bend with the wind. So bend, don't break. Make peace with the present. And when the urge to run, to numb, to scroll arises, pause. And remember, you are already here. And that is enough. You don't have to become someone else to deserve rest. You don't have to fix everything to be worthy of grace. The you who's messy, who skips a day, who doubts, is still the you who deserves to begin again. This moment right now is not asking for your resume. It's asking for your presence. So give it, fully, softly, without apology. Because if you can sit with this second, not trying to escape it, not trying to turn it into a future, but just holding it like a fragile bird in your hands, you'll feel something shift. Not outside, but within, a calm, a strength, a stillness that doesn't need to prove itself. That's the power of the present. That's the gift of discipline. It's not about control. It's about care. And you, my friend, are worth caring for. Not someday, but now. There are days when emotions come like weather, unexpected, uninvited, and impossible to reason with. You wake up fine, but something shifts. A message, a memory, a moment you can't name, and suddenly everything feels heavier. We tend to treat emotions like intruders, something to shut down, to fix, to hide. But what if they're not here to harm us? What if they're here to tell us something we've forgotten how to hear? Anger, sadness, fear. We label them as bad, as signs of weakness or failure. But the Stoics, they didn't tell us to suppress our emotions. They told us to sit beside them, to understand them, to respond instead of react. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." It wasn't denial. It was direction, a reminder that storms will come. But you don't have to become the storm. Imagine your emotion as a child at your door, knocking, not to be punished, not to be ignored, but to be seen, to be heard, to be told you're allowed to be here. But you don't get to drive the car. That's emotional resilience. Not numbing, not controlling, but relating, to feel without falling apart, to cry without shame, to rage without destruction, to grieve and still get out of bed. Seneca said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." And he was right. Pain stretches us, not to punish, but to prepare. Each heartbreak, reshaping the chambers of the heart. Each loss, a silent tutor in the art of letting go. Each fear, a doorway to courage, quietly waiting to be walked through. You don't have to be unshaken to be strong. You just have to keep choosing softness when it's easier to go numb. Carl Jung believed that the self becomes whole, not by eliminating darkness, but by integrating it. That means meeting every part of you, the calm and the chaos, the healed and the hurting, the knowing and the not yet sure. That means holding your sadness like a friend, not forever, just long enough to hear what it's trying to say. When you feel like you're drowning, you don't need a ladder. You need a breath. Just one, and maybe another after that. Sometimes emotional strength isn't loud. It's not the pep talk or the brave face. Sometimes it's the act of simply staying. Not fleeing the moment, not medicating it with noise or distraction, but whispering to yourself, "I can feel this and survive it." And then you do. The Stoics also practiced something most people avoid remembering: death. Memento mori. Remember, you will die. But this wasn't meant to scare. It was meant to sharpen, to bring you back to what matters, to strip away the noise, to remind you that every day is not guaranteed, and so every emotion, even the hard ones, are part of the brief, wild symphony of being alive. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. It's not morbid. It's permission to stop waiting, to stop pretending you have forever, to feel what needs to be felt now, to say what needs to be said now. So next time the ache comes, don't flinch. Let it sit beside you. Give it a name if you can. Ask it why it came, and then When it's ready to go, let it leave without guilt, without grasping, without shame. Resilience isn't built in battles. It's grown in moments of radical honesty, when you admit you're not okay and keep living anyway, when you forgive yourself for feeling too much and remember that this sensitivity is not a flaw. It's the soul's way of noticing the world deeply. So feel it, all of it, not forever, but fully. And when it passes, because it always does stand up slowly, breathe and take the next step, soft but steady. There's a moment, usually quiet, usually late, when you realize you've been performing, not just today, maybe for years, performing who you think you should be, performing for approval, for applause, for the illusion of being enough. And somewhere along the way, you started mistaking noise for connection, attention for affection, and likes for love. The Stoics warned us, not with scorn, but with sorrow. Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Because here's the truth, the more you become yourself, the less you'll fit into other people's expectations. And maybe that's not a problem. Maybe that's the beginning of freedom. We crave validation, not because we're shallow, but because somewhere deep down, we learned to distrust our own voice. We handed the mirror to the world and let others tell us who we are. But the Stoics, they turned the mirror inward. They asked, whose life are you living? And maybe tonight you can ask that too. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one, not a quote. A call to stop outsourcing your self-worth, to stop waiting for permission, to stop editing yourself for comfort or convenience, because the only life that's truly yours is the one that fits quietly in your chest, even when no one is clapping. So what does that look like? It looks like saying no when you mean it, and not apologizing for needing rest. It's choosing depth over spectacle, stillness over performance, integrity over popularity. It's noticing how many of your choices are built on fear, and slowly, patiently choosing love instead. Seneca said, as long as you live, keep learning how to live. And maybe that means unlearning too. Unlearning who you thought you had to be. Unlearning the hustle for approval. Unlearning shame around your softness, your silence, your slowness. Because there's no algorithm for authenticity, no filter for inner peace, no trend that can teach you how to live a life that actually feels like yours. There's a strength in still being kind after the world has given you reasons not to be. A courage in choosing honesty when the room is built on masks. This isn't weakness. It's what the Stoics called virtue, not performative goodness, but quiet, stubborn alignment with what you know is right, even when no one's watching. Especially then, you are not your reputation. You are not your resume. You are not the version of yourself that lives online. You are what you return to when the noise fades, when the lights dim, when no one is watching but you. So ask yourself, do you like the person you are in silence? Do you trust them? Do you know them? If the answer is no, good. That means you're waking up. Aristotle wrote of the golden mean, not too much, not too little. A life lived in balance. And maybe that's where truth lives too. Not in always rejecting the world, but in knowing where you end and it begins. In letting others think what they will, while you remain rooted in your own quiet knowing. There's a kind of peace that comes when you stop trying to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you. A lightness in no longer performing for a seat at tables that don't feed your soul. So let them think what they want. Let them talk. Let them scroll past. And you return to the quiet, to the center, to yourself. The world doesn't need a louder version of you. It needs a truer one. And if you've forgotten who that is, be gentle, be patient, and come home, one breath at a time. Change rarely knocks. It enters like a draft, cold, sudden, sometimes so subtle you don't realize you're shivering until long after the door's blown open. One day you look around and the faces are different. The mirror looks unfamiliar. The silence in your house feels louder, and you whisper to yourself, when did everything change? But the Stoics, they didn't resist it. They welcomed it, like rain that waters what you can't yet see. Marcus Aurelius said, accept whatever comes to you, woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs. That's not passive. That's trust in life's quiet intelligence, in the truth that we don't always know what's best for us until we survive it. Change is not always kind, but it's always honest. And honesty, no matter how raw, always brings us closer to the truth of who we are. So maybe the job ended. Maybe the relationship did too. Maybe you're in a new place with no one to recognize you, not even yourself. Let it be, not because it doesn't hurt, but because pain can carry instructions. Ask it, what are you here to teach me? And wait, not for an answer, but for a softening. Seneca once said, he who fears death will never do anything worth of a man who is alive. But this isn't about dying. It's about remembering that you are, in fact, alive, that the clock is always ticking, not as a threat, but as a gentle nudge to stop postponing what matters. You don't need more time. You need more presence, more yes, more gratitude for the ground beneath your feet, even if it's unfamiliar. Gratitude, after all, is not a reaction. It's a decision, noticing the small thing, the warmth of your mug, the laugh that escaped your lips without warning, the silence that didn't judge you. Gratitude is remembering that life doesn't owe you anything, and yet it gave you this moment anyway. Marcus wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." That's not poetry. That's a posture, one that says, I will stop waiting for life to look different before I begin to appreciate it, even now, especially now. You won't always feel thankful. Some days, gratitude will feel like a foreign language. That's okay. Try anyway. Say thank you to the parts of you that held on, to the lessons you didn't want but needed, to the version of yourself that got you this far, even if they were clumsy. Say thank you to the sky, even when it's gray, especially then, and as you do reflect, not to criticize, but to understand, not to replay the past, but to walk through it with new eyes. Ask, what did I learn today? Where did I show up? Where did I abandon myself? And then forgive, gently, honestly, like you would a friend who tried. The Stoics didn't reflect to feel guilt. They reflected to feel clarity, to notice the patterns, to make small shifts, not to become perfect, but to become present. So tonight, as you lay your head down, don't carry the whole world into your dreams. Let some of it go, let all of it soften. Whisper to yourself, I did what I could. And if you didn't, I'll try again tomorrow. That's enough. That's more than enough. Because life isn't a race. It's not a performance. It's a quiet unfolding. And you are unfolding too, at your pace, in your way, in time. You've been listening to Silent Sage Stories. If these words found you, it means you were ready to hear them. So keep breathing, keep becoming, keep holding space for the parts of you still learning how to be here. We'll meet again, not at the finish line, but somewhere along the way, in stillness, in grace, in the next gentle beginning. If this touched something in you, let it ripple outward. Share it quietly with someone who might need it. Subscribe if you'd like more moments like this. And if you're still here, thank you. You're exactly where you're meant to be. Let's keep walking softly, bravely together.